Hi, Raj. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. How are you, Jas?
Good. Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Today's conversation, we're going to go with collaboration, okay, and the elements involved in collaboration. So, I'm just going to fire off with a few generic terms as such, and we hear this all the time. Uh, Give me your basis on or your views on coordination experts.
Yeah, so we've found that in some of our data science projects, having an account manager or having a salesperson is not the right sort of methodology. You're combining sort of like a service delivery, but alongside a product development. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to iterate your product by engaging the end user. So that's not you're not having to sell anything. You're basically having to inform and communicate across many different stakeholders and people. So you've got everything from the academic who's got the algorithm and the research that you're using through to the end user, where obviously there's domain experts and there'll be some in the IT involvement. And in between that, you've got our domain experts and our data scientists as well. So it's an iterative process, and that's why it needs a skilled person to be able to coordinate across those differing stakeholders.
Right. So you've got this great cohort of stakeholders and different elements all involved, but how do you actually manage the stakeholders?
So that's a good question because you've got these different, an academic and a sales guy are not going to get on, and a domain expert, is best suited to speak to the end user, right? So the coordination expert's ability is being able to adjust, and I think, and sort of sit in the shoes of each stakeholder, and then look for where the information has to be passed on to. I'm not saying, having them all on a WhatsApp group is not always going to be conducive to be able to get where you're going because the academic may not be involved that much. They don't need to be involved in a weekly messaging. They might only need, sometimes even a quarterly update, right? Because obviously they've done the research. You're now using their research to develop the product. So their involvement is not that much, right? Whereas the end user, you're going to need them every sort of, end of week for a couple of hours. So the coordination expert has to be able to look across the stakeholders that you have and that you may add as you go as well, and then determine how much information goes to each person, and then also manage those different
Right.
stakeholders as well.
Okay. Because I mean, if you take in consideration also IT bodies, and we have people that sit in IT that have been there for many years and know one way of doing actually what they've actually particularly done in their own role as such. How do you manage the IT people alongside also the academics and having that cross conversion?
Yeah, no. So the IT people, that's a good question. The IT people will probably never even come across the academia portion, let alone the academic, but even the research paper to some degree. They're looking for a final solution, an IT outcome, aren't they? In most cases, we would try to workshop. We've done those elements where we've done workshops where we say to them, the outcome is this, and to get to that, we don't know what all the steps are. We know the first three steps, but the other 6 to 60 steps are going to be built as we go because we're trying to solve this particular challenge statement. So the IT side, like I say, once the end user, the business, operations person in that is convinced of the idea, then the IT usually sort of come on board. But it is a different discussion there.
Right. So let's take for argument's sake, you've got the academic and you've got all these educational institutions and universities within a city which create value. I mean, how does that actually work? How does it create value within the city?
So again, yeah, so that's where the collaboration part, extends on to beyond the product itself, right? So we've spoken to universities, so you're mentoring with Zayed University right now as one example. We're talking to Coventry City, Coventry University through their growth hub about doing some innovation around 5G, and those engagements are not necessarily commercial engagements, are they? We're not there to extract money. There's nothing that we're selling to them. What we're trying to do is just from a I suppose from a care perspective, is to say, okay, you've got people in these you've got students coming out of these entities, out of these education institutes. If they move to another city, a tier one city, a London, a Paris, Dubai, are they going to be at their best, or are they better off located in their hometowns, in their home places where their families are, their friends are, they grew up in? but they still have access to that high tech and that AI world that is available around the world. And basically, you're working indirectly with the council, with the local government, because you're reducing the brain drain, right? So you're able to keep that talent locally. And so that type of collaboration is almost like an indirect one to what we're doing in terms of the work around the product development that we do.
Yeah, but going back to this, being able to work agile, if the city does get this, this great wealth of talent, and it does move to the tier 1 cities, a lot of these people can work from home, can work from the laptops. They are able to do it, working remotely.
Yeah, so that's again, you made the point there, isn't it? Then you can stay in your home city. I mean, we do it, don't we? You're now sitting in Coventry. I'm now in Abu Dhabi, right? So we're able to work agile and work anywhere. I've caught you in the middle of your ironing, as I can see, and but you're still able to have a conversation, isn't it? The thought process can come up, and you can record and then create as and when you please. So yeah, I think the local government's efforts are now enhanced, or they're not as they don't have to be so policy driven, because the tools are available. It just depends now on how that local government does their innovation and how they get that information out to the youth.
Yeah. So what we're looking at is a lot of IP creation within the city. We're looking at spin outs. How does this work?
Again, yeah, great question. So with the once you've got your local talent there, the talent needs to be fed, right? So rather than somebody who's got an IT degree or computer science degree going off and doing something that's non-related to their work, someone who's got a first in computer science is seen as bright, and they would put their hand to anything. It now takes government policy to basically say, look, anything in terms of intellectual, especially emerging countries, right, where intellectual property has not been deemed as something that they protect or that they create assets of. So if the local government with the national government can create pathways for people to come up with ideas, protect those ideas in those tier 2 and tier 3 cities, then yes, I think IP generation will be part of their local policy.
Yeah, lead to greater job creation within that city, and then obviously, like we said, going back to having the spin outs from these offshoots of these companies formed, new ideas are formed, new entrepreneurs are brought on board, and the city thrives.
And then, so yeah, the other point on that is, once you create a high value job, whether it be in a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 city, the indirect jobs that are created of there can be anything from sort of 2 to 6. If you've got a data scientist, a machine learning scientist that's could be earning $100,000, let's say, in a tier 1 city, but if they stay in their hometown, let's say in Sharjah, let's say in Coventry, they may be on $60,000, but they're again more comfortable. Their cost of living is not going to be as high as a city. But also, what that will do is that means that person's buying more coffee, more donuts, more gym membership, right, from the local city. So the indirect jobs that's created is beneficial as well. So places like Coventry and Sharjah are well suited, and it's quite a life, isn't it? City life is great, but sometimes it's it's not suited for everyone, is it? When it comes to like places like London and Paris and Dubai, even.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic! Thank you very much, Raj. Great.
Cool.
Hope you enjoyed.
Thank
you.